Welcome back to Matthew's film series. Oh my gosh, guys, we're on the second episode already. It's been five minutes since I filmed the last one. I changed my shirt so it looks like I filmed it separate days. But yeah, let's just jump into it. Hold on. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about film again, and today our question is, what techniques does film use to strike our emotions/feelings? Now, obviously, films can be very emotional for all of us, and if there's no emotion in a film, there's just no film, period. Film is supposed to immerse us in an experience that we can relate to characters and go along on their journeys and feel when something hits them hard. Alright, so the first thing that film does to strike our emotions is it develops characters that we love. This is super important for the film because if we don't care for the characters, then we're not going to care, if something horrible happens to them, and therefore the movie was pointless because you really should try to connect or put yourself in their shoes and see what they're experiencing. Pixar is really good at this. Now, everyone associates Pixar with sadness and happiness. Mostly sad, but for the most part, Pixar usually starts out happy and then ends with a sad note, always Inside Out. Bing bong. Oh my gosh. One of the more sadder films of Pixar that strikes a lot of people is Up, is that opening sequence when you see Carl and Ellie growing up together and how they really loved each other, but then Ellie gets sick and passes. Very sad. Next thing that film does to strike our emotions is it has relatable topics. So, example, death, losing a game, taking a test, all those things you can relate to. It's not like, you're caring for an alien, like flying on a bike? Who does? We'll touch on that in episode 4. You need to choose relatable topics for an emotion to hit. So, along with developing a character, you really want to love them and root for them. So it's really hard, like, example again from Up, we grow up with Ellie and Carl through that 4-minute sequence, and then Ellie dies, so we're really hit hard because Carl feels alone and isolated and feels like he has nobody. Losing a game, that's always hard, especially when you're a tryhard. I'm not. I accept the fact that I suck at all games. You can ask any of my friends, but they will tell you I suck. Except Minecraft. No, I take that back too. I always fall. Taking a test. Now, we all can relate to this. You didn't study for the test, and you're super nervous, and a lot of tension builds up. Then there's kids that don't study, and they pass the test. I don't know how they do that. Seriously, oh my gosh. Okay, the next technique film uses to strike your emotion is color, believe it or not. Now, I have a little chart here, so oftentimes we can associate red with danger. A lot of times red strikes the eye and it makes you, not necessarily uncomfortable, but like it's a weird setting and you're telling the guy to get out of there. For example, in horror movies, there's always red, so something with horror movies is there's usually blood, so blood is usually not a good sign. So orange can be associated with warmth or energy or transformation or something out of this world. For example, like in Stranger Things, that storm cloud was like a reddish orange. So it's still dangerous, but it's, there's a force that has energy like warmth. Or more specific example, the sun, warmth, although the sun's been around longer than film, but you get the idea. Yellow is associated with happiness. Now, obviously when you're young, you always see happy faces and they're colored yellow. Yellow can also strike the eye. It makes you focus on something, makes you feel happy. That's why The Simpsons is very lighthearted and it's not scary or anything, because you know it's just a regular family living through their everyday life, especially when Homer went on a space odyssey. Blue is associated with like wonder and like a childish, I guess I sometimes act childish, but no. But blue is full of wonder and it makes you curious about for a character. The ocean, you know, again, I know that's way before film, but like you don't know what's in the ocean, so you're very curious. Pink can be associated with romance or love, obviously. It gives a very light tone, and again, I know it's probably been around longer, but like Valentine's Day, the cards, they're pink, gives you love and a bunch of hearts, you know what I'm talking about. So that sums up the color wheel and how it affects film. And one last thing that gets our emotions is soundtracks. Obviously, next episode is about how music is important to film, but briefly touching on sound is half of film. Without sound, you wouldn't feel half of the things you do with film. So, an example is Pixar again, obviously. That montage of Carl and Ellie, there's no dialogue whatsoever. It's just music, and you're hearing the lightness of, you know, orchestra, like the piano and strings, and then when it gets to a sad moment, it's just a sad piano playing. Another more famous person is John Williams. Spielberg, it's like his go-to guy, and Spielberg claims that John Williams is the other half of him in his films because he really gets your emotion across and tells you what to feel through sound. Alright, that's about it for today's episode. Tune in for the next episode where we'll discuss why music is important to film. It was never featured on The Tonight Show, just have the mug. Jimmy Fallon, there can be co-hosts.